For 5 years, an invisible digital spy siphoned off the secrets of governments, defense companies, and even the Olympic Games, without almost anyone noticing. And what if I showed you how Operation Shady RAT managed to lurk in the shadows for so long? In the mid-2000s, the whole world turns on its screens. Everywhere, the same blue flash, the same Windows desktop. From Washington to Beijing, from Brussels to Seoul, administrations connect, companies open up, NGOs talk to each other. Emails flow like rushing rivers, swollen with attachments, contracts, secret memos, diplomatic cables. The first chroniclers of this war without bugles are called Symantec, McAfee, and others. They scrutinize the faint signals. They see the same wounds repeating. Discrete intrusions, data slipping out of networks like water through a crack. Governments probed, companies stripped, NGOs searched like houses abandoned to the night. Reports follow, one after another. They speak of cyberespionage campaigns, targeted thefts, persistent attacks. There is not yet a great epic. Only observations, fragmented, scattered, shards of battle. In this landscape, one weapon becomes queen: spear-phishing. The hook cast at a single fish, at a single name, in the turmoil of emails. A message tailor-made, a credible subject line, an apparently harmless attachment, a Word document, a PowerPoint presentation, an Excel file. The employee receives it. They open it. The click echoes in the digital darkness. This banal, everyday gesture becomes the gateway to a hidden empire. Because inside these attachments lie vulnerabilities, sometimes known and poorly patched, sometimes unknown to everyone. Those famous zero-day flaws, virgin breaches in the software wall, offered to whoever discovers them before the defenders. In a fraction of a second, code slips in, installs itself, and lies low in the machine. A modern Trojan horse, no longer made of wood, but of lines of code. A remote access tool. A remote access tool. A remote access Trojan. A rat. This rat opens the doors from the inside. It obeys orders whispered by distant servers, connected via the internet. It executes commands, downloads files, extracts documents, adds other modules, other weapons. It turns the infected computer into a secret outpost, a relay for conquest. And no one, in front of the screen, sees the foreign hand feeling through the folders, copying the plans, sucking up the classified memos. Meanwhile, the geopolitical stage is heating up. The great powers are clashing on a new theater: the economy, technology, data. The United States, China, Russia, and others are competing in innovation, advanced industries, control of energy and information flows. Wars are not officially declared, but the stakes are the same. To know before the other, to possess before the other, to anticipate their negotiations, strategies, alliances. The theft of intellectual property becomes a weapon. The plundering of strategic data, a way to avoid years of research. Diplomatic files, detailed maps of the soul of nations. Gradually, a certainty imposes itself on the most clear-sighted. Cyberespionage is not an accident. It is a tool, an instrument of influence, pressure, long-term competition. A blade that does not gleam in the sun, but shines in the darkness of fiber optic cables. Founded in 1987, an American company raised like a rampart around networks. It offers antivirus software, shields, monitoring. But beyond the products, It has a secret organ, an internal laboratory, McAfee Labs. There, researchers decipher the signals of war. They observe, compare, cross-check. They respond to incidents as one responds to isolated fires, but they also look for the arsonists. Among them, one figure stands out: Dmitry Alperovich, Vice President of Threat Research. His role: to give a name to the shadows, a face to the attacks, a story to the scattered fragments. With his team, he dives into the data flows, follows the invisible traces left by the intruders, like footprints in the digital snow. For years, McAfee collects shards of what looks like a single, long, methodical campaign. The same modus operandi, the same types of targets, the same command and control servers, those famous C2s, where compromised machines converge. But everything remains piecemeal. Until 2011. Before this turning point, the enemy is already at work. Its operation begins, according to the traces McAfee will find later, in mid-2006. Much later, the researchers will open the logs, those records torn from a compromised C2 server. And there, in the cold lines of timestamps, the first date appears. July 2006. First trace of an intrusion. First mark of a foreign hand that, silently, crosses the ramparts of a network. At that time, attacks first fell upon the most obvious targets: governments, defense, high technology. The attackers sent emails to carefully chosen recipients within administrations, strategic companies. A defense engineer opens a document. A civil servant clicks on an invitation. A technology researcher unlocks an attachment. Each time, the same ritual, the same trap, the same rat that slips in and settles down. The infected systems then connect regularly to a distant server. They send signals, receive orders. Each connection is recorded in the C2 logs, like so many chisel blows marking the length of the compromise. Some networks thus remain chained for months without knowing it. Data packets leave and return like an invisible breath. Daily life goes on. Meetings are held, decisions are made. And in the shadows, someone is listening. The year 2008 arrives, and with it, an expansion of the battlefield. The logs that McAfee would later obtain then show an escalation. The targets diversify. To governments and defense companies are added construction and engineering firms, energy companies, media groups, NGOs, think tanks. The attack no longer aims only at the armor of the nation, but also at its industrial skeleton, its sources of energy, its channels of influence, its places of reflection. Some of these victims remain compromised for more than a year. 18 months, 24 months. The logs will say it. The enemy presence settles in, grows accustomed, inhabits the networks like a discreet occupier. Defenses at the time lacked advanced mechanisms. Filters were coarse, signatures incomplete. The enemy passes through, returns, lingers. In 2008 and 2009, a global symbol particularly attracts these shadows: the Olympic Games. Out of sight, the International Olympic Committee itself is among the victims. Its digital walls, believed to be solid, are breached. National Olympic committees in Asia and the West are also hit. Behind the rings and the anthems, a burning question. Who wants to know, before everyone else, the dealings, the negotiations, the choices of location, the contracts, the flows of sponsors, the political balances hidden behind the celebration of sport? From 2010 to mid-2011, the campaign reaches its peak. The number of victims increases. The most sensitive private sectors fall in turn. Defense companies, high-tech firms, energy companies, engineering firms, consulting firms involved in major international projects. The logs that McAfee will study show constant connections, day after day, month after month. IP addresses linked to government networks, to corporate headquarters, to NGOs. Data leaves. Their content is not revealed to the world. But the frequency, the duration, the persistence are enough to guess the scale of the loot. Some organizations thus remain compromised for more than 28 months. More than 2 years with an enemy inside their digital walls. The attackers maintain their C2 infrastructure, withstand setbacks, protect their servers, move them if necessary. They weave a web across several continents. And yet, until 2011, their name remains unknown to the general public. The victims, scattered across the planet, mostly have no idea they belong to a single campaign. A ministry treats its incident as an isolated case. A company repairs its network and retreats. An NGO strengthens its firewall without knowing that elsewhere, in other time zones, others are suffering the same wound. It is then that McAfee, having observed the patterns of infection for years, perceives a resonance. Through its sensors deployed at many clients, through alerts coming in from multiple regions, the company sees the same commands, the same servers, the same RAT structures repeated. A signature begins to emerge, a recurring pattern. The researchers start the hunt. They track the command and control servers. They identify a particularly active C2, the beating heart of numerous suspicious connections. They encircle it through analysis, through technical means, through the tricks of their trade. And in 2011, the lock gives way. McAfee gains access to this server's logs. A vault opens. Inside, 5 years of traces. 5 years of back and forth between compromised machines and the C2. 5 years of dates, IP addresses, durations, fingerprints. The researchers dive into these logs as into the annals of a secret war. They identify the IPs, cross-check them with public databases, internal data, who-is information. Little by little, behind each line, an organization takes shape. A government, a defense company, a media group, an NGO, an Olympic committee, an energy company, a consulting firm. In total, 72 distinct victims stand out, extracted from these columns of numbers. At least 14 countries are affected. United States, Canada, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, India, Vietnam, Hong Kong, several European nations. The map is covered in red dots, and at the center, a chilling observation. The majority of the victims are in the United States, but the tentacles of the operation stretch far beyond, into Asia, into Europe, to other shores. The researchers classify these victims. They sort them by categories, not to reduce them, but to understand the design behind the plundering. National governments, federal and local administrations, international organizations, including the IOC, other global institutions, defense companies, high-tech firms, construction, engineering, energy, telecommunications, consulting firms, media groups, NGOs, think tanks, everything that thinks, everything that decides, everything that builds, everything that powers the modern world appears on this list. The durations of compromise vary, but reveal an unshakable determination. Some networks remain open for only a month, a quick incision. Others, several months, like a chronic infection. And several organizations suffer more than 2 years of occupation. One case peaks at around 28 months of continuous compromise. During all this time, the attackers watch, copy, exfiltrate. They do not destroy. They learn. Faced with this panorama, one word imposes itself: campaign. And not just any. A long-term espionage campaign. Advanced, persistent, an APT. McAfee sees in it the mark of an actor endowed with resources, patience, consistency. The targets are too sensitive, the duration too long for this to be a simple criminal group seeking immediate profit. The vendor speaks of data theft on an unprecedented scale, a phrase that tolls like a death knell. A name must be given to this monster. It will be Operation Shady RAT. RAT, for Remote Access Tool, or Remote Access Trojan, the technical core of the attack. Shady, because everything in this undertaking takes place in the shadows, in the opacity of the C2 servers, in the spoofed emails, in the innocuous clicks that turn into unwitting betrayal. This name, McAfee specifies, does not come from the attackers. It is an internal designation, a banner raised by defenders to recognize this campaign among others. From there, the work becomes methodical. McAfee checks every correlation between IP addresses and organizations. No room for approximation. Every attribution error would be an injustice, a false thunderclap. The log data are consolidated into a large summary table. Type of organization, country, date the compromise began, duration. Dmitry Alperovich takes up the pen. He shapes the narrative while preserving the rigor of the facts. The report will be titled, Revealed, Operation Shady RAT. It will pass through the hands of McAfee Labs, through the company's leadership. A decision is made. This will not be a document reserved for clients. It will be an open book to the world. A general alert. On August 3, 2011, the curtain rises. McAfee officially publishes the report. 5 years of campaigning, from 2006 to 2011. 72 victims. Governments, companies, international organizations, Olympic committees. Several intrusions longer than 2 years. One of the largest cyber espionage campaigns ever exposed. Dmitry Alperovich multiplies interviews and press conferences. He explains the timeline, the typology of the targets, the persistent nature of the operation. He speaks of APTs, popularizing this term beyond the narrow circle of experts. The global media seize on the affair. The New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, and others repeat the figures, the major categories of victims. The image is striking. The International Olympic Committee, a symbol of sporting peace, infiltrated. National Olympic committees monitored. Governments penetrated. Defense companies spied on. High-tech firms scrutinized. NGOs probed. McAfee, in its report, remains cautious. The nature of the targets, the duration of the campaign, the absence of ransom, the strategic orientation of the espionage all point to a state actor. A state, or a group acting for a state. But no technical proof, no complete chain of responsibility is made public. In interviews, Alperovich hints at one country as the likely culprit, without carving it into stone in the report. The world understands the innuendo, but the name is not officially spoken. Other experts react. Some welcome the light shed on an operation of this scale. Others point out that campaigns like APT-1, GhostNet, and others have already revealed the depth of digital wars. They debate the phrase "largest campaign" brandished by McAfee. Behind the scenes, the governments indirectly mentioned through the location of the victims remain discreet. Few publicly acknowledge the reality of the compromises. A few partial confirmations filter into the press. Never the whole picture. Within the security community, another debate arises. McAfee's methodology relies largely on the logs of a single C2 server. If a single node of the infrastructure already reveals 72 victims, how many remain? Hidden. Silent. Some conclude that Shady RAT, as it appears in the report, may be only the visible part of a larger structure. From 2006 to 2011, a faceless enemy traveled the planet through its cables, crossed borders without a passport, accessed state secrets without passing through any door. And until then, no one had named this war.